Welcome to sportsbookreview.com, and this is UFC 249 to be held in Florida. It's the co-main event, and it's bantamweight. I have two extremely knowledgeable guests. I have Andreas Hale, who's senior editor of combat sports at DAZN and Sporting News, and David Mannion, writer and expert. Remember to go over to the sbrvideo.com/249, subscribe, and ring that bell so that we can let you know whatever contact comes along, you will not miss it. We're going to have the matchup. We're going to get to know our fighters. We're also going to have a little bit of a Twitter contest that Lee Martin is going to let us know. And then I'm going to find out which way the boys are tilting. We have Henry Cejudo and Dominick Cruz. Andreas, I'm going to come to you first. What is Dominick Cruz all about?
Dominick Cruz is a bad man. Listen, the guy was undefeated for 8 years, former bantamweight champion, a guy that many considered a top 3 pound-for-pound fighter when he was active. The problem with Dominick Cruz has been a history of injuries that have had him sidelined for 2 and 3 years at a time. And we're running into another situation. He's getting another crack at the title, but he hasn't fought in over 3 years, actually, since his loss to Cody Garbrandt. But he's an interesting fighter. He uses footwork and movement. He's a fantastic wrestler. It's a little long in the tooth. He's 35 now, but we don't know if Father Time is undefeated in this case because Cruz has made a habit out of disappearing for 2 and 3 years, rehabbing, coming back, and looking just as good as he was before. So we got the bad man, the former champion here against Henry Cejudo.
David, Henry Cejudo, what does he bring to the table?
Henry Cejudo brings everything to the table, man. It's actually insane how talented this dude is. The main aspect that he brings to the table is obviously his Olympic level wrestling. He's a former Olympic champion. He's undefeated at 135 pounds. He was the former flyweight champion, which is relinquished to conquer the bantamweight division. He defeated arguably one of the greatest and most respected flyweights of all time in Demetrius Johnson. He then he then took on the bantamweight who was holding the bantamweight title at the time in TJ Dillashaw. He took him on and beat him. Then he wanted to rematch him at 135 pounds, which is crazy in itself, to try and take the bantamweight title. Unfortunately, the Dillashaw was ruled out. Things we don't need to discuss on here. But yeah, they found a replacement for him in Marlon Moraes, and I was sure of it. I thought that was the match. I thought it was a great match for Henry Cejudo. And do you know what? If you go back to that first round of Marlon Moraes versus Henry Cejudo, you'll see what I mean and why I had faith in Marlon. But I don't know what Henry's corner said to him, but he came out in that second round and he dominated. And this kid now, or I'll say kid, is 33 years old. He's trying to take over. He's trying to take over media. He's one of the cringiest. That's his new thing, right? His new thing is being cringy. So he's calling out female fighters and he's doing all this sort of stuff. And you know what? It's quite obvious why he's doing it. It's for the publicity. He wants to put his name out there. And guess what? It's working. Henry the Messenger Cejudo is for sure the greatest bantamweight in the UFC right now. And I don't think there's anybody, not even Dominick Cruz, is going to come through and touch this guy.
Andreas, can you match up these two fighters with their strengths and weaknesses?
Well, just as you mentioned, Henry Cejudo is an Olympic-style wrestler who it doesn't have a hard time getting a lot of guys on their back. You know, he's utilized that for a while now. Dominick Cruz is a completely different fighter that Henry Cejudo's ever faced. Look, Dominick Cruz is a guy that Team Alpha Male spent their entire career trying to beat because the man's footwork is striking. The man that came close to beating him, TJ Dillashaw, tried to copy Dominick Cruz's style. The man who eventually beat him was Cody Garbrandt, who had multiple camps with Team Alpha Male to figure out his boxing. So it's hard when you look at a guy like Dominick Cruz that an entire camp dedicated over 5 years in beating, and he's facing a guy, Henry Cejudo, who's never seen anything like him. So you have the wrestler against the striker with solid wrestling in Dominick Cruz, but the footwork, the movement, the herky-jerky style, Cejudo's never seen anything like this before. He's got to get his hands around Dominick Cruz, and I don't know if he can. So the question really, it comes down to, is the 3 years outside of the octagon going to be a hurt to Dominick Cruz, or he's going to come back once again better than ever? We're going to find out at UFC 249.
We certainly are. And David, when I think about, we've had fighters before that have had long layoffs and they come in and they do the business. Strengths and weaknesses from your view.
Yeah, well, it's all circumstance, right? And Dominic Cruz hasn't been in a good one. Right. The biggest talking point for this fight right now is the injury-riddled layoff that Dominic Cruz has had. Okay. This guy has been gone. In fact, if there's probably there's a huge percentage of UFC fans now who are going, Dominic who, especially those that came in from the McGregor era, because nobody knows who Dominic Cruz is. He was once the greatest bantamweight. As Andreas said, one gym wasted their time trying to take him out. It was kind of embarrassing, actually. But if you go and look at the last fight, which I encourage you to do, you'll be able to chronic the many injuries that he's gone through, and you can see the difference in prime Dominic to Dominic now. The best weapon he had was his movement, right? So his legs, his footwork, his movement was the best ever. And he doesn't have that anymore. Why doesn't he have that? Because he's suffered knee injuries. You're an athlete yourself, Flash. You know, once that knee's gone, it's not good. It's not good at all. And if you're a fighter and your main movement, your main attribute and the best thing that you bring to the table is your movement, when that's taken away, you're not going to be the same fighter. Dominic has the confidence. I hear him in interviews. He looks prepared, you know, as all fighters should be. But I think he's in the depth that is not going to be able to stop himself from sinking right now. And Henry Cejudo is going to keep that title. I think Henry Cejudo is going to finish him. I think Henry Cejudo is going to put him out quick.
We'll come to them picks in a minute, but there's an opportunity for you all. We've got a UFC 249 Twitter contest, so go over to @SBR Sports Picks, and you can all get involved. So take it away, Lee.
Hello everyone, Lee Martin here to present you SBR's UFC 249 Beat the Expert contest. On May 9th, Justin Gaethje and Tony Ferguson are finally going head-to-head. So you know what that means? Yes, betting on the UFC. How the contest works. UFC expert Andreas Hale is going to give his entire card picks for the event by video via our Twitter page. And you, the bettor, have to beat him with your own picks by commenting on the video post and retweeting. In order to have a valid spot in the contest with your picks, you must be following our Twitter page at SBR Sports Picks. So that's one event, one winner, and an easy $100. If you head on over to sbrvideo.com/UFC249, you can find all the information for the contest plus T's and C's. Also, there you can check out our top betting picks, the entire card breakdown from our UFC betting experts, promotions, bonuses, and so much more. Also, don't forget to subscribe to SBR's YouTube channel at SBR Sports to receive all updates regarding upcoming content and sporting events, and also give us a like. Again, this is a chance to win $100 and also a chance to go up against UFC experts with your picks and to test your UFC knowledge. Let's get ready to rumble and have some fun. Hope to see you guys then.
Thanks, Lee. Make sure to get involved there. That's a Twitter contest for UFC 249 at SBR Sports Picks. Now I'm going to go to the boys and find out where their money's going and who wins this fight. Andreas Hale. How? Sorry.
So this is an interesting one. Like the Father Time thing is such a big, it's casting a huge cloud over this fight. I like Dominic Cruz a lot. Listen, Cejudo's kind of taking this fight on short notice because he wanted Jose Aldo. It takes a while to prepare for a guy like Dominic Cruz. I know he slowed down. He faced a Cody Garbrandt who had an amazing amateur boxing pedigree. So that came into play when those two fought. Henry Cejudo's not a tremendous striker. He beat Marlon Moraes late in the fight after getting mowed down for a couple rounds. So he had to dig deep for that fight. Dominic Cruz is a points fighter. He's a guy who's going to pluck away with you at the jab, move away. He never really gets wrapped up. You don't see many guys take him down because he's very elusive. Cejudo's not the fastest guy. He may be explosive, but he's not fast. He's got to wrap his hands around his man. I think Dominic Cruz is going to do enough to frustrate Henry Cejudo early with his movement, pluck away at the jab. stay away from, keep his back off the fence and keep his back off of the canvas. If Cejudo can't get this fight to the mat, it's going to be Dominic Cruz by decision. So here, yes, Dominic Cruz is the underdog. He's been away. He's 35. But some guys, they take that time off and they come back extremely sharp. Team Alpha Male had multiple camps to prepare for Dominic Cruz. Henry Cejudo has one camp to prepare for Dominic Cruz. And for that reason, I'm picking Dominic Cruz by decision. I think he's just got too many tools, and Henry Cejudo might be a little overrated.
What sort of price is that, Andreas?
I think if I believe correctly, I think I saw Dominic Cruz hovering around a plus 180. So he's a pretty significant underdog, and I know why. It's the injuries and the time away. But this is a guy who's a former champ. He's 22-2 in his MMA career. He lost to two guys, Cody Garbrandt and Uriah Faber. He's the only other guy besides Cejudo recently to beat Demetrius Johnson. This is his weight class. This is his home, and he's coming back to reclaim his throne. So you're going to find some value in Cruz being the underdog. Plus 180, go for it.
Yeah, Andreas certainly likes his value. Tell me who wins this fight, and what are your picks, David?
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with the champ just because of the unknowns. There's too many variables coming into this from the side of Dominic Cruz that I would not risk my money on. That said, I also don't like the price on Henry Cejudo. Now, as much as Cejudo is a world-class wrestler, his top control isn't that great. And Dominic Cruz, he does have pretty good takedown defense, to be honest, and his scrambling ability is not bad. Now, let's say, hypothetically speaking, we know that Cruz has done his shot. Of course, I would be happy to take that full price on Henry Cejudo. But the fact of the matter is, we don't know where Dominic Cruz is coming into this fight. We don't actually know how shot he is because of his lack of engagement in the actual octagon. He's been sat ringside for the past couple of years, running his mouth at the announcer's desk, but that's all he's done. We haven't seen anything else, so we don't actually know. And to be quite honest with you, he could come out here and look incredible because we don't know yet. We don't know. We just have to take what we've got, the layoffs, the injuries, his last fight, and we have to work with that. So it's all on Cejudo. The breaking down in the analysis for me was really all on Cejudo because I can't be watching tape. I cannot watch fight tape from 5 years back and give an honest, transparent opinion. So technically speaking, Dominic Cruz here, he's got the skills to deal with a much shorter fighter whose main weapons are his hands, right? However, Cejudo, I know Andreas said Cejudo is slow, but if you go and look at Cejudo's striking speed, the speeds of his punches are quite fast. And with an aging, potentially slowed down Cruz, I think Cejudo will get the job done. But in terms of betting, I have to go back to that minus 240 price. It's real high and it's real juicy. So it's going to have to be Henry Cejudo inside the distance.
Okay, so Henry Cejudo for you, David. The big value from Andreas Hale. If you've liked this video, then please go to sbrvideo.com/UFC 249, subscribe and ring the bell so that we can let you know when any future content, you will not miss anything. Gives me a chance to say thank you, Andreas. Thank you, David. Roll on Saturday night, UFC 249 in Florida.